Hey guys, OFSREagle here, bringing you a brand new video today. Today, as you can see by the title, I'm bringing you something called life lessons. And I didn't want to call it a real talk, even though it kind of falls under that category because, as most of you know, I like to teach, and I like being taught. I like to learn. I love learning, and recently I had a big learning experience that on the surface applied to Halo, but I realized applied to many other things in life. And I kind of want to take the thought of things we learn in Halo that can apply to life in general. And I've kind of made those comments about things like the way I play, the way I operate, and how how you see it in Halo, but how it translates to, at least for me, and to other things in life. Now, I'm talking about what I'm referring to is the Halo 4v4 tournament, which was on Sunday, October 8th. Right now, this is just background footage. I opened a custom game, open to all players, Sniper Mags, just for you guys to watch something. But basically, past few weeks, me and Arcade Telos wanted to do the Microsoft 4v4 tournament, as we did in September, the doubles. To just recap real quickly, we did, so if you didn't know, Microsoft did a deal with 343, if you would call it that basically they would host a series of tournaments once a month for 3 months. The first one being a free-for-all, the second one being a doubles tournament, and the third one being a 4v4. Now, it was limited to only the people who showed up in the actual Microsoft store. So basically, this meant that the who you competed against. This guy's laggy. I don't know if it's me or what. Anyway, who you compete against really determined on who showed up. So they weren't going to have it where you compete against other people at other stores. Whoever showed up, those were your opponents, so to speak. And it was actually on my birthday. The 4v4 was on my birthday, Sunday, October 8th. And I just wanted to have fun with it. Me and, like I said, Arcade did the doubles. Did not do well at all. It was all 3 tournaments were supposed to be LAN. If you don't know, LAN means local area network. Basically, instead of it being over a online server that you do the game with, even with it being people in stores, you are actually hooked up to a private internet server dedicated just for you. So no one else uses this internet connection except the people there at the store. Well, the doubles tournament, that machine that was would do all that was not working, so we had to use the store Wi-Fi, which resulted in a lot of difficulties and complications. Well, for the 4v4, they had confirmed that it would indeed be working, and they had their LAN system set up just fine. Well, sadly, there were a few issues, and I'm going to get into it and why I'm making this video. It wasn't a perfect LAN server. When we first got there, me and Arcade Telos, they gave us the chance to do a little warm-up to test the servers, make sure it was all working right, and all that. Well, when we first did it, it felt great. When I did it, it felt perfect. So it gave me the expectation to play to count on this connection and play how I normally play. I don't want to come off like I'm making excuses for anything, which you'll see why in a second. So, the free-for-all tournament was won by someone named Sketchy Scope, who showed up. He's very good, way better than me. He plays with pros all the time. Didn't know who he was till I met him. I didn't go to the free-for-all. He and his partner won the doubles very easily, and he also showed up for the 4v4. So we kind of expected, I didn't go in. My expectations for the doubles were really high, and I got crushed, and it left me defeated for a time. With this, I was going with the goal to have fun, and if we did well, great. And that was my expectation. So, and I'm glad I did that. Now, like I said, when we first started, the servers felt great. So I had this expectation of how I can expect the, how I thought it would feel. Now, we ended up not doing. We came in like 3rd or 4th, and the main thing to remember is that it being a custom game, there's always, with every custom game, there's a host. Now you see on online games, no one plays the game of host, right? That's because 343 spends the money on dedicated servers and host the online matches. When it comes to custom games, they're not going to spend the resources to host a custom game. Someone's Xbox will just do that, which is normally fine. Now they were doing that as well for the tournament. One of the 8 Xboxes that was there would be doing the hosting for the event. Well, over time that created issues, and they never rotated which Xbox did the hosting. It was always the same Xbox, the one that Sketchy Scope was playing on. Well, there you go. It was always the same Xbox. They didn't like switch hosts. Oh, you host the game. You set up the same. It was always this one guy. And Sketchy Scope happened to have that Xbox, right? And then I had that Xbox. Over time, just to keep it quick. Over time, if one single Xbox keeps hosting a bunch of custom games and the host number changes, that Xbox is going to have server issues over time. Because that's a lot of work for it to do, and over time it starts getting glitchy. I won't get into the details. It's a thing, you can ask anyone. Now, Sketchy Scope, I noticed was playing differently than what I'd known him to play before. And at first I thought it was just maybe he's just playing different because he's playing with a full 14. Well, I didn't think much of it, but I noticed, again, when we first did a little warm up, it felt great. But when we started playing as a team, we weren't the first team to play. It took a good 2 hours before our team played, and remember that same Xbox kept doing the hosting. So over time, that Xbox was in poor. When I say poor condition, the server was just lagging because the host was the same Xbox. Now that created a problem. I could not play. The moment I started playing, something felt wrong. They had a nice viewing experience there. They had an extra Xbox who was like a spectator, an observer, and they had a nice big projector that had the very similar to what you see on like a normal stream. So what I'm referring to is the fact that I could not play my normal playstyle, right? I'm a very fast, aggressive player, especially when I have snipe, right? I have good snipe skill. There's nothing wrong in being confident in that. But it's a very, I wouldn't say risky, but yeah, a risky playstyle, which means that I could not, given the situation, you know, my playstyle basically requires that the server be good, that my internet connection be very stable, because there's a lot of, you know, risky plays. So you can tell I'm a very aggressive player. Well, you know, when I saw Sketchy Skill playing, like I said, I noticed that his style seemed to have changed. I didn't give it much thought. And again, once I started playing, I knew something was wrong. My girlfriend and my parents were watching, and they noticed this isn't what you normally do. You know, you normally hit. I was missing some very basic things, and even some other players, not nearly as much, were kind of experiencing the same problem, especially on my team. But basically, kind of just to sum it up, because the Xbox I was on was hosting, it affected my connection and how I could play. Now, Sketchy Scope had the exact same issue, but he didn't do nearly as terrible as me. And I'll tell you why. This applies to the life lesson. His team did not end up winning the entire thing. It was a very close match against this other team. But I asked him at the end, what was the issue? And I had a hunch. I'm like, was it the host? Was it because you were hosting that things weren't working? He's like, exactly. And he said, I noticed that after the first half of the first game. He said he noticed what was going on, and then he made the conscious decision to play a way that did not require basically good internet connection. It required positioning and communication, which does not require a good internet connection. Where you're at on the map, you know, is not reliant on, you know, the servers or anything. So now it took me a full 3 games to figure that out. And he figured out the same thing in a few minutes. And because of that, he did a lot better. And I say all that to say this. I learned the importance of being adaptable. Of being able to change up your strategy, your playstyle, your plan of attack. It may not just be for Halo. Maybe for anything, a work project, a school project, you know, whatever it may be. You can't control your situations, you can't control your circumstances or your surroundings, but you can control your response, right? And your response can determine your outcome. You may have the worst situations, you may have the best situations. Sketchy Scope and I were in this exact same situation, yet there was 2 total different outcomes. Even though he's a better player, he responded to the situation in such a way that allowed him to be a lot more successful. Basically, he realized that what he was doing, given the circumstances, was not working. So he quickly changed it to something that would allow him to work within the situation of having a bad connection. And that I realized that night when I got home, after we celebrated my birthday, you realize that meant that I realized just how important that could be to a lot of things, not just Halo. Basically, you can have all the practice, all the best intentions, and if one thing doesn't work out, it all can crumble if you choose to, if you let it. Now, because it took me so long to realize the issue, which was my own fault, and because I didn't really do anything to kind of change it, I was just kind of, the only difference I made is I really didn't snipe anymore. I wouldn't even bother picking up the sniper because I knew it wasn't working and it would just, I couldn't rely on it. But I didn't really do anything. I kept doing my same pushes and stuff, you know. And what happened is we didn't win because of it. And you know, we did okay, but I personally could have done a lot better if I had realized the obstacle being presented in front of me, and then taken a moment to assess how I might better overcome the obstacle. I'm so used to trying to overcome the obstacle of the other players, not really ever the connection or whatever it may be, and that was a gross melee on your part, I'm sorry. I learned yesterday, because I'm actually recording this Monday, October 9th, the day after this happens, right? I learned yesterday that you need to be adaptable. You need to learn to change what you need to do in order to meet the requirements of the situation. And that, to me, is something that can be applied to not just Halo, but to many things. And that was a very valuable lesson. The fact that Sketchy Scope and I were both presented with the same issue, and yet he responded in a way that was just much smarter, and he recognized it so much faster than I did, and made changes accordingly. Just that is what really separates good players from amazing or pro players. Is their shot can be great, but they know how to adapt to things outside of their control, and not have to rely. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that the biggest thing I took away, and specifically in Halo, I need to practice a different play style. That way, if I need to fall back, if my main one, this type of style that I do every day doesn't work, and when I say style, I mean just the aggressive, like, ooh, I go for snipes constantly. I always push for snipes because I'm good with it. If I can't do that, I don't have a backup. I don't have a set strategy and a mindset of what to do. And this has taught me I need to do that, and I can also do that with many things outside of Halo. With work, school, So I just wanted to share that with you guys. This is a life lesson I learned. Wanted to share it with you. Hopefully you find it useful, and hopefully it's beneficial to you. I'm so happy with how it turned out, even though I know we could have done better. If the circumstances, if there was better connection, yes, we could have done better. I also could have done better, even regardless of the internet connection, if I had adapted sooner. So, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it's useful. I just wanted to share something I learned. I love teaching. I love learning, and just wanted to give this, give you guys, kind of a little taste of that. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down in the comments what you gleaned from this. Something your take home from it was, and yeah. So with that, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Me or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life, but it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and